Welcome to Gracefully Graying. I'm your host, Attorney Henry Gornvine. Today on Gracefully Graying, we will be discussing a very important issue, and that is what happens when you can no longer live on your own and need to, as we say for a lack of a better word, go to agencies such as Stepping Stones for Seniors. And today, I'm pleased to welcome Melissa Kutinsky of Stepping Stones for Seniors, who will discuss some of these important steps as we are aging or have aging parents. Melissa, welcome to Gracefully Graying.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about who you are and your background?
Sure. I have a license in social work. I have my master's, and I've been working in this field for about 20 years. My partner, Dana Jaffe, and I started Stepping Stones about a year and a half ago, and we love seniors, and that's where our heart is. So that's why I'm here.
What was your main reason for starting Stepping Stones for Seniors?
We really wanted to help seniors on our own terms. We both worked at a company for a long time, and we were just ready to do this on our own where we could help people and do it the way that we wanted.
What did the company do, without naming the company, just out of curiosity?
We provided personal care services in some independent and assisted living communities, and we had home care and hospice. So we were community liaisons for that company.
Great name. Why don't you tell us about Stepping Stones for Seniors? I mean, it's really a great name. I don't know how you came up with it, but you did very well.
Thank you. So we feel that we are partners in this journey with whether it's children of the senior or family members or even just a friend. We're here for that journey, embracing the journey one step at a time.
Let's say you have a parent who's reaching a point where he or she can no longer really, I guess, live on his or her own. Often it's with the result of the death of a spouse. Sometimes there's an illness. Sometimes more and more frequently, they may be something with regard to Alzheimer's or dementia and, loss of cognitive ability, a loss of physical ability. So how do you help find the best place for your family or senior when you can no longer live on your own?
So the first thing we do is we meet with the senior and we find out where they're at. So physically, what do they need help with? Is it somebody who just needs a little bit of help, just reminders to take their medication, all the way up to maybe they have a feeding tube or they need a lot of care. Their dementia, like you said, is progressing and they need help with all of their activities of daily living. So we're finding out what the needs are, what the person's budget is, and what area they want to be in. And then we help them from there to find the right place.
Do you meet with the seniors? Do you meet with family members? I mean, often it seems like a senior may be in denial. Often a family member is in denial too, and it's a tough step. I mean, living on your own, giving up independence, moving to whether it's a senior residence or an assisted living facility, it's a big step. So how do you help people cross this threshold?
Absolutely. That's our specialty. And so if the family wants to meet without the senior first, we can do that. They kind of give a background. And then at some point, we're meeting with the senior. Sometimes it's the family going to visit the two places that we recommend and kind of narrowing it down and then taking the senior at that point. So it really depends on the situation, but a lot of times we're meeting with both the family and the senior.
Melissa, what are some questions about the aging process that we should be cognizant of?
That's a great question. And there are so many options out there. And so sometimes asking the doctor that they're working with, their primary care doctor, to say, do you think my loved one needs to move into a senior community, whether that's assisted living, a memory care, a group home, and they can give ideas for that. And other questions that they can ask are, what is the difference between these communities, to figure out where their loved one fits into? And I help with that process too.
It's interesting. As I drive around the area and we both live in the same community, it seems like at every intersection there's another senior residence, assisted living facility. I mean, they come in all shapes and sizes. And how do you help someone go and differentiate between them? I mean, it seems like there's so many, and I've personally been involved with some with my father, with my mother. I've also been involved with other family members, and the quality of care varies, the costs vary, and
Definitely.
it can be very frightening, to say the least.
And it's not one size fits all. There are so many different communities, and each one has a different price, a different acuity. There are all different aspects. And so really getting that budget from the person or their family and what area they want to be in is how we kind of narrow it down.
How do you help someone go from a home to a senior residence?
It's a lot. It's a lot of steps. So I have resources for people that can help sell the house. I have people that can help organize their stuff, whether that's for an estate sale or just even to give away things in their home if they've been there for 50 years. Then, I mean, really all of the resources, we have a lot of, whether it's transportation, we have resources for that.
So it sounds like you provide one-stop shopping through your connections, helping someone move, helping make that decision, finding the right place. So these are all steps that you assist people with.
Yeah.
What is someone comes to you, typically, I'm sure people just, unless there's an emergency, and maybe the emergency is what triggers something where someone has a fall or can no longer be mobile, then something. But what is the typical process from someone perhaps talking to you to someone making a decision?
It's funny because every situation is really unique. I had somebody recently that a hospitalization precipitated this conversation. And so we were going to move forward with a group home placement. And unfortunately, that ended up changing quickly. The person was in the hospital and then in rehab and then went back to the hospital and now is on hospice at the hospital. So things really can change so quickly. It really depends. Every situation is so different. But the ideal situation is to come maybe before you're even ready, just as you're thinking about making a move.
What are the typical ages that you deal with?
Did you say typical ages?
Yes.
I mean, it can range from 60s to 100.
So there's a pretty broad range. And I guess the thing is, one size does not fit all. We're all different. We all have different needs. So what you're dealing with it's complicated, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
What are some of the options that are available for seniors that you can discuss with us?
So there's independent living. If the person, maybe they live independently in their home, they're in their 70s or 80s and kind of thinking that they just would like some place where they can socialize. Maybe there are usually they have some help available that they can hire at the community as well. So that's an option. Places like All Seasons, American House, places like that where they're a senior apartment. And then there are other choices from there. There are communities that have a range, continuum there where they have independent, assisted, and memory care, places like Story Point, places like Waltonwood that they can move between, if they start out in independent and then they end up needing memory care, they can move between those areas in the building. So there are so many options for people, and that's kind of how I help, is I figure out where the person is at and what they need.
Let's talk about different types of facilities. What are the pros and cons of group homes, which I'm just learning about, versus assisted living facilities, which can range in size from, maybe a facility that'll handle 50 or 60 to maybe well over 100. So tell us about some of the pros and cons.
So the group homes are a great option for people that need a lot of help or their dementia is advanced. I like group homes. I think people don't really know a lot about them if they don't have experience, but there are a lot in our area. And number one, they're all inclusive. So the price is typically a lot of times it can be less than a nursing home. So you're getting as close to one-on-one care. If there's 6 people that live there, sometimes there are 1 or 2 caregivers 24 hours a day, and you're really getting very good care. I mean, obviously it depends on the place, and I only recommend places that I know of that I place people at that are exceptional. And you get very good care for the amount of money that you're paying and a lot of eyes on that person. Closer watch than if you're at a place with 100 people.
Describe a layout of a group home. I mean, I'm very familiar with assisted living facilities, which typically will have some common areas. There'll be dining room areas, and then there'll be little bedrooms that are coming off of a common hall. And I know, like typical assisted living facilities, there will be a memory care floor, which is kind of usually on the top level and is not easily accessible, with the idea that people can't be wandering in and out. So how does a group home handle this, especially if someone is severely impaired with dementia or Alzheimer's and no longer has any cognitive ability, for lack of a better word?
A lot of times it's a ranch home, and so everything is on one level. It's similar to, it can be similar to an independent senior apartment place, but it's just a lot smaller. So everything is condensed. So the rooms are usually single rooms. People, not always, but usually people have their own room, and it's small. They also have common areas. And so if family wants to come and visit, there are places where they can do that. And typically it's a small community versus other places like a memory care where they have a whole building. This is a very small area.
Let's say I have a family member who is in need of care, uh, and there's a lot of denial going on. How do you overcome that? I mean, do you set up a meeting with all the family members? Do you try and get involved as many as possible? And sometimes I'll compound this a little to make it a little more complex. Let's say you have children who are in different states, and you also have children who have very different viewpoints, with one saying, no, it's not time, and another saying it's been long time, and how do we move forward? So what are some of the issues, and how do you cope with some of these issues that you're dealing with?
I would probably meet with the kids first and try to get everybody on the same page. I would meet with the senior as well to see what I'm seeing. So if I feel like they don't need to move and they can be at home for another period of time, I can recommend that. But I would try to get the kids all on one page, because having that, one person saying one thing, one person saying another thing, I think that's just very difficult for the senior. And so I would really try to meet with them first and get everybody on the same page.
Well, there's certain topics that you broach. I mean, it's kind of a sensitive thing, and a lot of people, it's like let's face it, seniors are afraid they're being warehoused. And so
Of course.
how do you overcome some of these natural tendencies or phobias, for lack of a better word?
Well, I would meet with the senior to find out. I am a licensed social worker, and so I could talk with them and find out where the needs are. And so if I ask them what medications they're taking, I have them show me, I have them show me their pill box. And if I'm noticing that there are deficiencies, I am going to share that with the family. That's something that's paramount to me. Is I feel that safety is number one, and if somebody's not taking their medications or taking them correctly and it seems like that's what's happening, then I will let the family know that and see if we can get them into a safe environment.
You said because you're intimately involved, how do you evaluate the quality of a care facility? I mean, let's face it, I'm sure there's a whole range of facilities, and someone walking in doesn't know it, and they may be swayed by some nicer, shiny surfaces, but find out that the care is not good or there's a lack of care. So, how do you evaluate who's good and who's bad in this industry?
I can pretty much get a feel when I'm in a facility, and I also talk to families that are currently at that facility to find out. And sometimes I ask for references as well to find out where is there anything that they're unhappy with, and really nail it down to see if this is a place that I would recommend.
I'd like to go through all the services that you offer at Stepping Stones. I mean, you mentioned you help with placement. You
Yes.
also help with finding perhaps a realtor if someone wants to sell a house to downsize. You
Yeah.
also mentioned that you deal with estate sales or help steer people into that direction. Do you also team up with medical professionals and nursing people and hospice? I mean, let's go through all the services that you offer at Stepping Stones for seniors.
So, as a social worker, I am familiar with a lot of resources. And so I do try to give the family and the senior as many resources as I can so that they have what they need in making these decisions. So, I have connections with different physicians groups, different hospice, home care agencies, because I worked for one as well. And I know of several, lots in the area. And then, I mean, foot doctor, I believe I have a hearing doctor, somebody that can help organize, like I said, and really just the whole range. If there are grab bars that are needed in the new facility, people that can help with that as well.
What about the costs? I know you can spend 5,000 a month, you can spend 10,000 a month. I mean, what are the range of costs and how does this vary and how do you determine what makes the most sense?
It really depends if you're looking at a senior apartment versus assisted living versus memory care. There are that $5,000 to $10,000 range is a pretty good range over all of that, but it really depends what area you're looking at, what your budget is. And so sometimes people come to me and they say, "Oh, I don't know. I don't have a budget. I don't know." And they want to look at places. And I say, I would like you to nail down some type of number, even if it's a range, a couple $1,000 range. I would like a number because otherwise I feel like you're just throwing darts at the wall. And it's too overwhelming to look at that many places if you don't even know how much you have to spend.
So you really, I guess when you're dealing with a family, you start kind of with a budget, so to
Yes.
speak. I mean, what can you afford? But
And some
I've
people have long-term care insurance.
and long-term care insurance is very hard to get these days. And I mean, I'm very familiar. I have it, and it costs a lot. And I hope I never need it, but if I ever need it, I mean, it can provide a lot of money. But for most people, it's not available, especially if someone has a pre-existing condition. So, from what I know, in that area, it's very, very difficult to obtain long-term care insurance. Is there government assistance that is involved as well in some situations?
Yes. Yep, there are programs. There's the Medicaid waiver program for lower income. There's the PACE program that's similar to the Medicaid waiver, but PACE is a program where lower income people can get on this program, and it provides help at home, whether that home is a senior apartment or their actual home. They can provide some help. There's some facilities that have the tax credit program. So yes, there are programs for lower income.
You're dealing with family members, you're dealing with difficult decisions. How do you help families face some of these realities especially where there's a lot of denial?
I'm pretty straightforward. I tell families that I'm the expert. I have really been doing this for a long time. I've seen a lot. And so if I see something, I will let them know. And I really treat everybody like family. And so I want the best for their loved one, just like I want for my own. And so that's how I approach them. And I'm not for everybody. Sometimes people choose not to use me, and that's okay. But I'm pretty straightforward with people.
Now, your partner is Dana Jaffe. Do you and she have similar roles or different roles with Stepping Stones for Seniors?
I handle the day-to-day operations. So she's kind of on the outskirts, but she is available when needed.
Okay, so you're the key person there.
Yeah.
Melissa Kutinsky, how does someone reach you?
They can go to my website, www.steppingstonesforseniors.com, or they can call me 248-716-3331. They can text, they can email Melissa, MELISSA, at steppingstonesforseniors.com, whatever is best. And I would love to chat.
Before we sign off, what are some final thoughts that you would like to share with our viewers, Melissa?
I would say the best case scenario is if you have somebody in your life that you think might down the line need something and you're just starting the process, call me, email me, and we can talk about how to begin the process. I'm happy to make that happen, give you some options of places to live and visit those places before it becomes urgent and an emergency.
Takeaways. I mean, it seems it's important to be proactive rather than reactive, but we never know what life is going to bring. So, Melissa Kutinsky, I want to thank you so much for being our guest on Gracefully Graying. I mean, you provided some very important information, and what can I say? We're all aging, and we all have, if we're not older, we have aging parents. So there's definitely a need for what you're doing. And, you know, there's so many options, so many services, and it's confusing. So I think, for lack of a better word, you can, as you're saying, you're providing stepping stones, you're providing a pathway and advice, and this is so important. So Melissa Kutinsky, I want to thank you so much for being our guest on Gracefully Graying.
Thank you very much for having me.
I want to thank our sponsors and our viewers, of course, for watching Gracefully Graying and making these shows possible. Thank you so much.